Hey everyone, so Cypher sent me the new board revision for the slab, and yeah, I was very grateful for that, so I've been testing it out. This is kind of a test build. I am going to change to a different shell. This is clear resin. Fortunately, there are a couple of issues just with the screw standoffs not being brilliant, but aside from that, it's fantastic. Does need a bit of a clean, but like I said, getting another shell. So, light pipe situation, as you can see, charging. We have USB-C, which is fantastic. Very useful, very modern, amazing. We love it. So yeah, light pipe situation unfortunately is just hot glue. I think a 3D printed piece would be quite cool to see, but you know, it's whatever. But yeah, with a clear shell doesn't look all that great. Again, why it's probably best to go for something else. So I'm getting another resin print, but in black and white. I'm gonna play with some color combinations there. The headphone jack there, all wired up. What I've done for the IPS display is something a little unorthodox. I believe Mako has done it before on one of his older builds. I just kind of guessed and played around because what I really wanted is brightness control. Unfortunately, it's a little bit more limited with these kits just due to the fact that no brightness button, so you can't solder it up. There are a few options. There was one kit I tried, so the high speedo one, however that's pronounced, and it did have a couple of touch panels, but it also had soldering for button controls, although it was just to the main button. So I'm not a fan of touch controls. Also, that gave me a few issues with picture. There was some flickering above the top half of the screen. So I tried the funny playing route using a 34-pin adapter, just fitting the regular IPS kit that's used for the AGB boards. And yeah, fits in really well, works beautifully. The ribbon actually fits perfectly. Sorry, my camera's a bit crap. I'm using my phone. The ribbon fits perfectly in this little slot up here. So that's great. Did take a while. There's a lot of finessing. I had to go back and forth with holding like 5 things at once to get it in there properly. One thing, like I said, I believe the screw standoffs aren't great. So I might switch, at least just for this, until I get a better shell. I might switch using some Gameboy color screws. That's what I did for my V1 build a while ago. Volume slides is a little stiff. I did have to trim it down ever so slightly, just on the sides. It does work. It functions just as normal, which is great. Using the funny playing clear speaker. Some funny playing Game Boy Pocket buttons and membranes. I did have to shave some bits down to get the buttons in and fitting properly to work well. Yeah, it's all made out of resin, which is gorgeous. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not as good as any other kind of resin. Clear resin, it isn't providing the best stability in some ways, but it's really gorgeous, really nice. But now let's turn it on, because I think that's what we guys want to see. So like I said, I'm using the AGB kit, which gives me full button controls, hold select. Now, one thing, the shoulder buttons I'm not a huge fan of, just because it's not as responsive, but there's a bit of finessing, and you kind of get used to it. So select an L and R, just like you would on AGB. Control the brightness, which I think is a really good solution. Obviously, you would have to buy a different kit. You'd have to buy a different, a laminated screen to fit in here. I've got one of those cheap, like third party. Well, they're all third party. Ones just to fit in here. But it works great. It looks beautiful. Speaker and everything looks really nice. So yeah, just it needs a little bit of work to at least get my build up to a good standard. Cypher's done such a gorgeous job redesigning this. Really am impressed. Just going to show off a couple of bits. Again, just using my phone, so it's not a great camera setup. One-handed as well. So like I said, you've got tactile buttons, just like you would on an SP. Yeah, I've got the button membrane, so there's a bit of travel. It's like analog triggers with a GameCube, but with no responsiveness until you press down. So it's a bit different to get used to. You could probably trim a little bit of the membrane, but I haven't played around with that. Yeah. This ROM helped me a hell of a lot, the button test ROM. So yeah, L and R buttons aren't the most responsive. I might just have to play around with that, but again, yeah, so R button's a bit more responsive. It might just be down to where it's sitting, how the screw posts are. Aside from that, it's fantastic, and let me just show off the headphone mod, which I think is really neat. I really loved the fact that it's just integrated like this. I've always wanted to do a proper headphone mod with an SP. I've done one before, but cutting the shell's not the most fun thing for me, so, you know, it's whatever. I do have a ton of cartridges. I've got practically all these games, but again, having to take them out, having convenience, having them here, having ROM hacks at my disposal is fantastic. We love flashcards. So, just starting out playing Pokemon Cross, loving it. Probably can't hear a thing. But yeah, coming through the headphones now. Again, if I had a better setup, I could show it off a lot better, but it's fantastic. It really is. Having the button controls for brightness is really nice as well. I like having the options though. I like having all the options available to me if I can for a setup. But yeah, yeah, just a few tweaks to my personal build. I'll be using this a hell of a lot more. I really enjoyed the slab design. Thank you so much, Cypher. Really appreciate this, and yeah, I hope the feedback is okay. I'm not trying to be critical or anything, just, yeah, some of my personal feelings towards how a few things could be a bit different, maybe. Just, I'd say the L and the R buttons, responsiveness, I did have some, you can slightly hear that, pressing down. So I did get some like very tactile ones, and I also tried some AGB switches, but there's not enough travel for the AGB switches, and the tactile ones, they didn't seem to be responsive at all because it's just very slightly different. So yeah, the triggers aren't my favorite thing. Screw posts I'll figure out, and yeah, the light pipe situation I think could change that a bit, but honestly, very, very impressed by this. Thank you so much. Yeah, time to play some more Pokemon. Peace.